So go ahead and keep your eyes closed. I'm just going to start this class tonight more of a relaxed, mindful, and meditative way. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go through this teaching tonight at a pace that hopefully is conducive to relaxing while you're listening to this discourse. So just to let you know about that. So tonight, Blue Collar Enlightenment course number 4 here, we're going to talk about self-awareness and consciousness. Before we get into the discourse, what I'd like to do is very quickly to do a body scan, because while I'm talking, informally we want to be consciously aware of our bodies and our environment and how we're sitting and breathing and the thoughts that are passing through our heads. So that's informally while I'm discussing what consciousness is. And then formally, at the end of this lesson, we will actually do an exercise about consciousness. But it's a very interesting topic. What is consciousness? What is awareness? And I didn't want it to be strictly a intellectual, didactic diatribe. I wanted it to be something that penetrated a little deeper. And some of this might work and some of it might not. But to begin with, we will do just a very brief body scan. Okay? So we're going to start by placing our attention on our feet, which if they aren't already, please place them flat on the ground. And uncross any legs or arms and relax. And have your posture sitting up straight. Take a few deep breaths. And so we'll begin with the feet and the bottoms of the feet, and notice how the feet and your shoes and the floor all meet together. For this quick body scan, we're going to do each of the feet simultaneously. So we'll go to the toes, check in with the toes, feel and be aware of the toes, the tops, the bottoms, the tips of the toes. Now the top of the feet, the ankles and the Achilles. Now we move to the shins and the calves of the lower leg, placing your awareness there, being conscious of how the clothing touches your leg. We move up to the knees, feeling into the areas of your knees, the bend in the knees, the outer knee, the sides, the back of the knees. Now we move into the thighs, the upper legs, the groin, the entire leg. Feel through it, the muscles, the skin, how it touches the clothing. Now we're going to move to the midsection, genitals, bottom, pelvis region. Feel into those areas, placing your attention there, relaxing them, remembering to breathe. Now we're going to place the attention on the navel, on the lower back. Again, we're going through this quickly. There's no right or wrong here. Now go to the belly button, the stomach, the internal organs in that area. Feel how the skin is touching your clothing. Now we're going to move to the chest, the heart area, the upper back, the shoulder blades. Now we're going to feel into the shoulders, the upper arms. We're going to do both simultaneously, so we go down each arm. Move to the elbows, the lower arms. Now onto your hands. Feel each finger, the thumbs, the top of the hands, the palms of the hands, the wrists, tips of the fingers. Now we'll back up to the neck. We'll feel the front of the neck, spinal area of the neck. Feel into the blood flow, feel how it's supporting the head. Now we're going to move to the jaw and the face, ears, nose, lips, teeth, eyes, eyelids, forehead, eyebrows, temples. Now the scalp, the top of the head, your hair. Now the entire head region. Now we're just going to quickly go back down through the body and get a whole feeling for the whole body, which is going to be important for this exercise. Just sort of a quick snapshot, so that when I call your attention to bodily awareness, all we're doing is going to that quick snapshot. Okay? So now, you're welcome to open your eyes, and we'll just, in this relaxed state, I'll just talk to you about consciousness and awareness, and then we'll move on to the exercise. So, most of us, when we feel into self-awareness or consciousness, or conscious self-awareness, we notice an empty space that's behind the eyes, behind the face, that's located in the head, apparently in the region of the brain. And before we have any thoughts about what it is, any thoughts about what to call it, any thoughts about our knowledge about it scientifically, or our knowledge about it philosophically or spiritually or religiously, before any of that, ask yourself, what is it? What is that empty space in my head? What is consciousness? And if you answer honestly, if you let all the thoughts come and go about what to call it, it ends up being a mystery. The answer is always elusive. The answer always ends up in mystery. And so part of what we're going to talk about tonight is just the mysterious aspect of consciousness. Really, that's all you need to know about consciousness. Consciousness is a mystery. And then after that, sure, we can go explore the size of consciousness, the quality of consciousness, what one does with consciousness in spiritual awakening, neuroscientifically, what is consciousness, what is my experience of consciousness as someone who's awake, all of those ideas. But really, at the end of the day, from before the awakening process and after the awakening process, that's what we're getting at. Is that it's a mystery, it's very simple. Letting it be a mystery. We won't leave it at that, of course, but know that you don't need any special knowledge or information other than living with it. Which brings up a really funny issue about us human beings living with a mystery. Is it any wonder that we're a neurotic bunch? Our whole lives, from birth until the grave, we are immersed in, contained in, followed by, running from, and hiding from, denying, worshiping, have a strange relationship to this mystery that is consciousness. Most of us, of course, just aren't paying attention to it at all. Most of it's a non-issue. It's a small little element about the brain or awareness that we don't give two shakes or a penny to. But if you do, in many ways, it's no different than the night sky. If you go out in the middle of the night, there's this huge, undeniable mystery staring at you in the face every single day. If you really stop and look at consciousness, it's the same thing. There's this huge, undeniable mystery. So here we are, thinking we've got everything under control, that we understand this, and we're doing this and that, when this mystery is laughing at us every second of the way. You know, it's there, staring at us right in the face, just like the firmament above is doing so every night, is staring at you, laughing, you know, or chuckling. And so consciousness is the same thing. It's shouting, you know, what to you? What is happening here? So that's the question tonight. What is consciousness? And let's now, with a sense of mystery and with a sense of humor and lightness, let's go see if we can figure out what consciousness is, okay? So, so from the point of view of neuroscience, okay? Neuroscience has uncovered quite a bit about the brain. Everything from neuroplasticity to mirror neurons to being able to map the brain with fMRI machines that show what part of the brain is doing what when we're thinking, when we're sleeping. Absolutely amazing. But what neuroscience has not found out, what is still a mystery, is consciousness. There's no consciousness neuron. There's no self-aware chemical. There's no cell in the brain that they've pointed to and said, aha, there's where consciousness is. Now, they've taken conjecture, okay, it's like the whole package together, the mind works this way with thoughts, and it's all interconnected, and it's the whole, much like a computer, isn't just it's one piece of software or one hardware, a computer works on the whole process. Well, they've been able to point to that thing, but still, the essence of consciousness is still a mystery. It's still unknown what generates it, how it got there, etc. Let me read something from Scientific American, okay? That was in, I can't remember what year this was, maybe 2011 or something. I got this off the internet. Although consciousness is the only way we know about the world within and around us, shades of the famous Cartesian deduction, cognito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, there is no agreement about what it is, how it relates highly organized matter, or what its role in life is. And that's what a brief perusal of probably the most famous scientific journal in the world, scientific, or in the United States at least, Scientific American, what it has to say about consciousness.
Was the whole article about
Because
consciousness?
the whole article was about,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it was about consciousness and about the brain and what is it and how does the brain generate consciousness and what do we know about consciousness. Okay, so now let's take a look at consciousness. Let's see if we can figure it out through the lens of spirituality and awakening. In this area, I'm going to give you what I think about consciousness from someone who's an awakening teacher. I have no idea what consciousness is. I didn't know what consciousness was when I was a teenager. I didn't know really what it was in college. And when I got involved in seeking and religion and spirituality and started reading books and going to workshops and seminars, they might have called it something. They might have called it God, or they certainly called it consciousness or self-awareness. But there was no detail about what it was. There was no like information about saying, or they might even conjecture that it's the dreamer, that there's just one consciousness, that it's God, of course, But there's no really like in spiritual circles and religious circles, like, well, where did that come from? What is it? What is it? It's still essentially a mystery, and all the things that we, as all the grandest of our arguments, philosophical, religious, or spiritual, still what they arrive to is mystery. And all the labeling and all the efforts and all the intellectual, beautiful, but doesn't quite do it justice. Okay, so those are just two brief ways to explore what consciousness is. Again, as an awakening teacher, I don't know what consciousness is, but I can tell you this. It is damn important. I don't know what it is, but it is absolutely fundamental to the awakening process and to awakening. And it is at the heart of this process. So it's a very paradoxical thing to explore consciousness when you don't even know what it is. And how do you do that?
Do you know what the experience of it is?
I have an experience
You
of
have
it.
an experience.
Yes. We're going to explore what my experience is here has been since a teenager, and how my experience of consciousness is different in the awakening state. I'm going to get into that. So what I'd like to do is take a look at consciousness from, if we can't find out exactly what it is, then we got to work with sort of like what we got. What do we know about consciousness? So I want to answer your question about what I know about it just in 1 second. I think maybe by going through these two things. So if you look at spiritual schools and teachings, there's always the talk about size of consciousness, right? How about raising your consciousness, about increasing your consciousness, clearing your consciousness, about having a higher consciousness. So there's this element of size that always comes into play when talking.
That you want more.
That you want more consciousness. And Bill, we were talking about this earlier. Well, 1 second. No, that was in the second part. We'll get to that. But it's a little tricky for me because I'm not perfect at. I don't have all this memorized, so I'm sort of looking at this piece of paper to make sure that I'm talking about this clearly. So pardon me as I do this. But for me, okay, consciousness has not changed from the awakening point of view. It has not changed since the time I was in the 5th grade, again, all the way to now. Consciousness itself is exactly the same. It hasn't improved, it hasn't gotten bigger, it hasn't gotten shinier, it hasn't gotten wiser, bigger, or better. But I understand the reason why when we just talk about consciousness, that we talk about it in terms of size, in terms of it getting bigger.
Well, your ability to see it makes it bigger now.
Right, because what actually happens is
that
that mind and identity and ego shrink.
Yeah.
It's not consciousness that's getting bigger, it's that
Is it really shrinking, or are you just putting your focus on it?
it's not really ego and mind. Well, in some sense, yes, it does. Ego, mind, and your habits and your identity do shrink. You could look at it that way.
Or did you just put them to the back and allow more of your consciousness to step forward?
They start to, all the efforts and the activity of ego start to lose their oomph. Okay? They start to lose their ability to really get you. And then you just start to see them all, and then what's happening is you're seeing them all through witness consciousness. But all the while, though, when you're going through this, you're seeing that consciousness actually it's not capable of actually changing unto itself. The only thing that's possible to change is the relative.
Mm-hmm.
And the relative is this, in our minds and our emotions. And by seeing the relative through consciousness, it's not consciousness that's expanding, it's all the crap getting out of the way, and then there's consciousness right there, clear and steady. But it has no size. It has no qualities. It's empty. But
it's infinite at the same time, isn't it?
we'll get to that. Yeah.
I mean...
We will get to that. One
Yeah.
second.
Okay.
1 second. So for me, again, consciousness has been here in its same exact way my whole entire life. And the only thing that's changed is how I have related to it, how this ego identity project of Jeff has flipped its position relative to consciousness, has grown smaller or eroded or become, let me say this, the ego identity project and mind of Jeff has seen through itself, and then what is shining afterwards is the consciousness. So it's like consciousness sees through it instead of being blocked by it and being, oh, that's all there is this miserable life of Jeff, Instead it's this, and it's like you say, oh, and there's the life of Jeff, but it's seen through with this with consciousness. Okay, so now let's do this. Let's take a look at what you just mentioned, Jan, of unity, non-separation, and being one with the universe, okay? Because it's very common that we hear about this in spiritual awakening schools as well. And specifically, let's talk about, consciousness being one, your consciousness expanding to be one with the universe. This is blue collar enlightenment perspective here, okay? Totally overhyped information, all right? And here's my take on why I think that experience, that unitive, expanded into all of consciousness into the universe is overhyped. That's not to say that people don't have that. I think, Bill, you've had some sort of experience like that.
Very, very strong.
Very strong, exactly. So I'm not saying that people don't have that, but I'm from a blue collar perspective, and I know this from my own perspective. I think that it's a lot of times it can be blown out of proportion.
You mean the seeking of that?
No, the actual experience of it. For instance, right now, my experience while teaching, okay, you could call it a very unitive and blown out, one with the universe consciousness, okay? But let me pick it apart, okay, from some things that I've learned about the brain and neuroscience recently. Number one, when one enters into an open-eyed state of meditation and relaxation, like the one that I'm in right now, what happens is your peripheral vision opens up. Physiologically, it's been proven. Scientifically, it's been proven. The opening of your peripheral vision, okay, seems to create a sense of more light. There's more of an effulgent, diffuse, light-filled sense that's in my eyeballs. Plus, I'm seeing more with my eyes. So it's giving me this perception of a wider, broader, grander, bigger universe, okay? But that's just a physiological state that's brought on by my expansion of the peripheral vision. Simultaneously, this open-eyed meditative state that I'm in right now is sending signals to my musculature, sending signals to my nervous system of, wow, I'm relaxed. This feels really good. Wow, I am feeling one with the universe right now. I can't tell the difference between where my leg stops and where the air in the room picks up and where the wall over there picks up, and I'm feeling like me and this wall, we're the same damn thing. You see, so there's just right there are some physiological elements of.
Are you feeling one with the wall right now?
I feel pretty good, but I'm not necessarily feeling one with the wall, you know. Now, I get it. I can argue philosophically about how I am dreaming this wall, and we're going to get to that in a second, okay? That I get.
I mean, you don't have to argue. There's just an experience of really feeling that you really are part of this, everything else. And when you have that, it's beyond words. I mean, it's not something that you can justify, explain.
And I'm not saying that the awakening doesn't include that. I just want to be very careful because we're trying to describe what consciousness is here. And what is it? And I want to get at some of the stuff that is blown out of proportion about because you will hear in teachings like this is what consciousness is, even in the most open-minded and new agey spiritual teachings in schools. They'll talk about consciousness, but boy, they seem just as narrow-minded as talking about the soul in Islam or in Christianity. So I just want to be. This is all I'm doing right now is just making us aware that some of this stuff is hyped, and it's good to know that it's hyped from a blue-collar point of view. Okay, and it's not to say that there aren't unitive, genuine, legitimate experiences of consciousness, and I know those, and I know what's happening there. But let's really look at this and ask ourselves, what is consciousness in those? So that's what this exercise is for. So let me move along here. Okay, 1 second. So now we can get to God and consciousness. The commonly held belief that consciousness is God, is the dreamer, that there's only one consciousness and that this consciousness is the same one in all of us, and that it is dreaming this whole context. Like I've said this many times, that there's only one of us in this room, right? And I happen to agree with that statement.
Mind fuck, I just
Yeah.
love it.
I happen to agree with that statement, okay? And I know, Bill, that you do too, right? Yeah. he's like, yeah.
Well, yes, I do.
Okay. And it's not, I'm not stuck on whether you agree with it or not or whatnot. I mean, it's just, ultimately, for me, it's a personal belief, and,
but it's not a belief, it's the truth.
but I'm trying to pick this apart is what I'm doing here, I hear what you're saying, but let me keep picking. I'm not like digging at consciousness or at this whole thing with a trowel or a pitchfork.
Ouch.
Or something trying to like expose it for what it is. I have no proof. I have no real logical scientific proof in my experience as a blue-collar enlightenment teacher, what I know about awakening, that that all there is consciousness, and that it's the dreamer that is dreaming all of this. I mean, that intuitively, bodily, and it feels like the right thing, okay? But I have to admit that there's an element still of mystery for me that comes with this. I have not died for instance, like Bill, I know you had a very, very profound experience in a dream state, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct, dream state.
Yeah, in a dream state about this. For me, I have not had that where like I lost all sense of awareness and knowledge as Jeff in a peyote cultural rite or something.
But you had an out-of-body experience, correct?
Yeah, I had an out-of-body experience, but that
was, I know it's not the same thing,
Yeah.
but that changed your perspective of
Sure. And I can tacitly, it's informing me right now that, and the awakening that I know just informs me that it seems the most logical thing that awareness and consciousness is really all that there is, and there is just one consciousness, and it's dreaming this whole thing. It makes complete sense. and I'm feeling it, but again, I'm trying to be very clear about what I know and what the mind knows and what consciousness knows. And I have to, from my perspective, I still have to admit there's a bit of a mystery. Even if consciousness is this God, is this thing, this one thing that is dreaming all of this, where did God come from? Who is God? If there's only one consciousness and it's dreaming this thing, why is it dreaming it? Where did God come from? What's up with him? Does that God get up in the morning and have coffee and go to eat breakfast? And what's his deal? What's its deal? What's her deal? There's still an element of mystery there. So I just wanted to show that essentially, if I'm honest, okay, in my teaching, I can't really say what consciousness is, okay? It's still a mystery. And for most of us, from a blue-collar enlightenment perspective, I think most of us feel that same way, whether you're awakened or not. We can't really know what consciousness or God or awareness is. And so I'll stop picking apart consciousness. I want to be clear that relative to consciousness and blue-collar enlightenment, frankly, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn about consciousness.
And I bet, an awakening state makes you give a damn a lot more. I mean,
It does.
You don't give a damn.
Yeah, I don't give a
That's
damn.
increased.
My intention for spirituality and awakening was to improve the quality of my life as a human being.
Right.
It wasn't to prove some philosophical point or to get to the